afternoon, and welcome to International Expansion Explained, episode 22. My guest today is Jiaran Wang, who is absolutely the epitome of an international multi-passionate woman. She's Chinese by birth, now living in Austria, and she really has many strings to her bow. So she loves catalysing international business growth and specialises in providing consulting, mentoring, and end-to-end services to startups and businesses aiming to expand their reach into the vibrant markets of China and Europe. She's a mentor and a coach, as well as having originally studied to be a professional pianist. So we're also, let's say, both very interested in music. And she's been a TED speaker, which is absolutely amazing. Jiaran, welcome to the show and thank you for joining me today.
Hello, Catherine. Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you so much for your wonderful introduction. Yes, yeah, it's going to be great. I'm super excited.
Let's kick it off with the question I always like to ask people, which is, how did you actually get into international business? And how did you arrive at the point that you're at today? Because, like I mentioned in my intro, you originally trained as a classical concert pianist, which is quite a long way away from being a mentor for startups who are going into international trade.
Yes, that's true. It's not the usual way, I have to say. So, my fascination with international business was born from my unique bringing. So growing up and studying in Austria after being born in China gave me a deep appreciation for diverse cultures and perspectives. This early influence combined with my experience as a professional musician and working in my family's import-export business during my studies helped me to gain rich understanding of international dynamics. This diverse background fuels my current mission. So, empowering business to achieve global success. Um, I leverage this experience in two ways. Firstly, through my company or society, I help startups and business navigate the journey of international expansion. And secondly, I serve as a mentor with my another business, a Mindful Biz, using my experience to guide entrepreneurs, artists, and international individuals. I would say I'm fortunate enough to have a team of experts. This team collaborates with business and startups of all sizes, providing them with the specific expertise needed to grow on global markets. So whenever you need, like help navigate cultural nuances, developing market entry plans, or building cross-border partnerships, we have the resources. And yes, like you said, on top of that, I'm still a pianist and still, hold dear the privilege of teaching piano students. And this for
Oh,
me, yes, it's essential of a well-rounded life. So for me, this is a happy triangle of being a mentor, founder, and artist.
that's really fascinating. I didn't think you would have time still to be teaching piano as well, because I mean, that's quite a time. It's quite difficult to make that commitment, isn't it, on a regular basis, to be available
Exactly.
at the same time each week for somebody to
Exactly.
support
But
them.
I think that is something that, makes me so balanced and so happy. So this is really my happy triangle. So I really need all three parts in my life, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, we are a musical household as well, so we also couldn't imagine what it would be like without the certain
Right.
musical commitments. So yeah, that's important to us. But if we kind of go back again to our actual, let's say, to our topic today, we're talking about going from local to global and how to take your
Yes.
idea worldwide. If I'm an if I'm a startup or I'm an early stage brand, where do I start? How do I actually even recognize that my product might be suitable for expanding internationally?
Well, this is a amazing and super important question. So I got this a lot. I would start like this. So do some research to see if people in other countries want what you want. So like want what you have. So look at trends, online researchers, and talk to potential customers and see if there are similar products already being sold internationally.
Yeah.
Understand what they offer and how you can stand out. Um, every country has its own rules and regulations for products. So make sure that your product meets those standards before trying to sell it there.
Yeah.
Something I really, really find important is different cultures have different preferences. So make sure your products fits well with the lifestyle and values of the people in the countries you want to expand to. So talk to people in other countries to get their thoughts on your product. Their feedback can help you improve and tailor your product for international markets before you jump into a full scale expansion right away. Please try to testing your product in one or two international markets first. So in this way, you can see how well it performs and make adjustments before going big.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes companies forget that maybe what is their main messaging in their home market might
Mhm,
not be the top of mind preferred messaging for an
mhm,
overseas market, because it
mhm.
might be another quality of the product which is actually most important to the consumers in that
Yeah.
overseas market, couldn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. I've seen that a lot with, especially with organic products and products
Mm,
who have a sustainability message, that maybe it's actually the health aspect, or maybe it's some other aspect, maybe it's their European origin which is more important, or some design aspect which is more important to a consumer in Asia in the first line. That doesn't mean that they're not interested in the sustainability aspect, but just that it is not the first level of the messaging that is most important for them, but the other aspects of the product. So yeah.
exactly. Yes. So absolutely. I'm super with you. Mhm.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I'm I've been following Natalie Kelly for quite some
Oh.
time on
Mhm,
LinkedIn, and in her book Take Your Company Global, she puts forward the
mhm.
thesis that in today's world, because we're so digitally connected, it's
Yeah.
no longer really necessary for a brand to have success at home before they start to internationalize, um, and that companies should be built global from the start,
Mhm.
which, because I'm working a lot in food and beverages, then of course this is a kind of, building global from the start is the one thing, but whether
Mhm.
you need to have some background and some success at home is maybe a different question to that. So I would be interested to know what your thoughts are on that. Should I be, as a startup brand, should I be building myself a base at home before I start to go international?
That's amazing thing, actually. I mean, well, I haven't read Natalie's book. I have to be, honest, but I do agree on this idea based on what I have seen in the business world.
Quick
Oh,
plug.
yes, I need to check this out because
Yeah,
I'm
this
so
is this is
agreeing
excellent
with
book.
this idea.
It's a good book.
Amazing. So, because, like traditionally, like you just said, traditionally, companies focus on succeeding in their home market first, right? But with the internet and the global strategy, it's now possible to succeed internationally right from the beginning. So sometimes products may find more success in international market than at home. Just you like mentioned before, like organic stuff, right? It's
Yeah,
really really important to be open enough to exploring that earlier on. And sometimes it's like this. if your product doesn't have a big demand, or if the market isn't quite ready yet for it at home, this can happen.
Yeah.
It's maybe good, to take it abroad, right?
Yeah.
So I do think that to succeed globally, you need to adapt your product to feed the needs of international customers.
Yeah.
So what works at home may not work the same way elsewhere. And being ahead of the curve in international markets can give you a super competitive edge. So why not try these opportunities early on? In my opinion, I would say while the traditional approach of starting at home has its benefits, it for sure has,
Yeah.
but the modern business landscape allows us to have exciting possibility to go global right on the start, and I would definitely do it.
No, I mean, for sure, if you have a product that you can take abroad right from the start and you can have the opportunity to sell online, then it would be a wasted opportunity not to grasp that with both
Exactly.
hands, right? And just to steam full
Yes.
ahead and go for it. To
Exactly. So I have seen, like, often seen startups or brands, those like, yeah, I have something really amazing, but it somehow is, not going up in Europe or in certain markets. So my question would be like, okay, then go Asia or try out different market. It's quite easy actually. You are not locked here.
hmm
So there are many things why people are afraid, to try things out, because one of the traditional mindset would be starting at home first, you know.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I really not agree with this traditional idea. I'm more with Natalie's and your thoughts with
hmm
try it early on. I really
yeah,
think that this is a lot better idea, to be honest.
yeah. I think the only thing where I would be very careful about it is if you're selling a product online and you
Mhm.
think that you can sell the product, the very same product that you're selling in the UK or in Germany or in the US, and you think that you can sell that same product everywhere, because I think that
Yeah,
that is risky. You're asking for
absolutely.
trouble if you try to do that with many products, at least.
Exactly. Yeah, no, you have to, like, understand if that is something that other people want to have in their new market, right? So you have to do
Yeah,
your homework. You have to focus on these strategies. I mean, yeah. So there are tools, there are strategies.
yeah. And how do you recommend that a company should go about recognizing what it
Mm.
actually is that they need to adapt in order to, what do they need to adapt in their products in order to be successful in international markets? Do you have like a framework, or you have a certain toolbox, let's say, as to how you support companies so that they can recognize about their individual
Mm.
product category what it is that needs to be changed for a specific market overseas?
This is a really strong question, to be honest. Um,
It's a huge Pandora's box of.
it's a huge topic, actually. So, okay, let me picture this in this way. So, picture your company as a traveler, venturing into new lands. To succeed internationally, so need to be a chameleon. In my opinion, you need to be, adapting to each places you visit. So, to each market you want to achieve, right? So, there are 4 points for me. For example, adoption is key. So as a traveler, adjust to different cultures, your company must tweak its products, marketing, pricing, and how it sells to match what people want in each new market. And second point would be, before you dive in, it's super important to do market research. To like checking the map before you set off in other ventures. So you want to know what you're getting into, right? Like we just talk about in another point. And the number 3 will be, so this is something that I believe that is super, super important. Trying to partnering with locals,
Yeah,
like train your team to understand the different cultures, right? It's like having a buddy who knows the best sports in town, And yeah, you will be fine if something goes off, right? So you need this kind of buddies or support,
Yeah.
and like adjusting your plans when the weather changes. Be ready to switch things up based on feedback. So like you said, I'm having this one product I will be selling everywhere. No, please don't do that. So switch things up based on feedback and being open to change. So this will be helping you to succeed, or even better, successful being as a plan. So I think these 4 points will be super important for any companies if they want to adapt their products or projects to be successful in international markets, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like Ruby said, you really have to do your homework. And
Hmm.
it's one thing if you say, okay, I spent a lot of time. I studied, for example, for 2 years in Italy,
Hmm.
so I know the Italian market really well myself. But if I'm going to Turkey, then I need to have a local. And if I'm
Exactly.
going to, I don't know, if I'm going to Ghana, then I call Ruby because I know that she's a specialist for the market in Ghana, where I know absolutely nothing these days. Um, and it's the same with markets like China, especially. I think that
Exactly.
having somebody who can help you not just through the cultural things, but who can really just help you through all of those technical things, like what is
Yeah,
a normal time to organize a meeting with somebody? What's
exactly. Hmm.
all those little things that you start to overthink, but somehow they're not important, but then they are really important.
They're super important. Like, for example, if you meet a Asian investor, or let's say a Chinese investor, is quite different than a Singapore investor. So if
Hmm.
they invite you to a meal, to a dinner, so it's not that they want to waste your time, just to talk about some food hobbies. They do like to understand, like, who are you as a person, right? So if
Yeah.
we can, match to each other. So this having a dinner is actually super important. It's as a meeting, right? So
Yes.
if I talk to European startups or some of my clients, they will say like, oh yeah, I don't know if I should go because we do have a like a meeting next day in the morning. It was like, oh my god, you have to go. This is the
Yes.
meeting.
Yeah.
This is the meeting.
It's more important.
They're like,
Maybe the meeting next day doesn't take place if you don't go to the dinner, right?
exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the small things that has huge impact on your international success. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I kind of fell into that myself as well because
Oh.
when I was first doing business in China,
Hmm.
then the company that I was working for, it took really quite a long time, longer than the client was expecting, for us to adapt the product to the
Hmm.
Chinese regulations. And so
Hmm.
in that time, I would make visits and I would be like, you know, trying to keep everybody happy and calm
Sure.
and
Sure.
so on. But it meant that I spent a super long time building relationships
Yeah.
and going around the various provinces, the ones that we targeted for the first initial introduction of the product, um, and meeting the people there and all of those kind of things.
Yes.
So inadvertently, I did a lot of that relationship building, and it was only later that I realized how important it was. And that kind of when you arrive the first time after a break, that you're going to spend a couple of hours drinking tea or you're going to spend a couple of hours having dinner because you need to bring the relationship back to where it is or where it should be for doing business.
Exactly. And actually, if you understand, this is where the experts, come into games, right? It's like you have to work with local partners and with experts together and to refine your products and your strategies, to be successful in this new market. And I think
Yeah.
so. This kind of, culture stuff or the culture elements are essential. Really, like they help you to achieve that. You know, so I do think that intercultural or the intercultural differences are now taking seriously enough, to be honest, in the real case. And I think we should, be more talking about it and working on that a lot more.
Yeah, yeah. I was talking the other week with a colleague of mine who is teaching at the FH in Salzburg,
Mm,
and she teaches an intercultural management course, and said that this is she has the, let's say, the problem, or she has the
mm,
situation that because it's an elective course, there are very few, when it's the bachelor students, there are very few of them who, or it's a master's course, but the ones who've never worked, not too many of them take the course. The ones who already
mm.
have experience of doing international business, far more of them take the course, the part-timers, because they are aware of how many problems it can cause.
Exactly. That's it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So this is why it's for me personally, this kind of live talk, it's so important. So it's not good only to show like, okay, how do I start a business? How do I find the idea and everything? It's important, really important, but it's more like, okay, why, is someone successful in this new market?
yeah.
It's clear not only about the products. So
And realistically speaking,
mhm.
at the end of the day, it's most of the world who works like that. I mean, um, I spoke with another friend in Ghana at an event
Mm,
the other day, and she was also saying, if you come to Africa, it's the same thing. You have to build a relationship first. Monwara is also saying that when she's in
yeah,
Bangladesh, then her experience of dealing with influential people who she needs on her side to get projects moving is exactly the same. You have to build that
yeah,
relationship before you can do business properly together. It's really only, let's say, in some European countries and North America, where you can actually just be very, very task oriented and not worry too much about
Derek,
the
Derek.
relationship up front, right? It's
It's really true. So I have a story. We were working with a Asian business guy, and she wants to talk to a German, I would say like high level CEOs, and we were setting up a dinner. And the problem was the schedule of this German business person is super tight. So he was like, okay, you know what? So let's do this after we close the deal. All good. I will make time for that. But, like for me, this is super tight. I'm sorry, I cannot do that. So because he believed that is like normal, like chitty chat. So, but for the
mhm,
Chinese people, for this Chinese investor, it will be super important to understand if this is someone I would like to work with. So there was a huge problem between both. So we were trying to, make this problem visible for both parts. Like, hey, this is serious. Okay, this is important. This is work. But it was like not easy to make both parts really on the same page. So we took like I believe like half a month to arrange a quick meeting, but it was super super important because after close the deal, this German executive was sending me emails like, okay, thank you. I didn't realize it was so important. I barely crashed this case. It's like, yeah, I know. So this is why it was really really important to have you on board. So yeah,
yeah.
that's is important. That's different. That's important.
But I mean, like Momwara also said, there's this kind of cliche in Europe that, business people who actually are very busy people,
Yeah,
they
I
always
understand.
seem to make time to have lunch and dinner with various connections, to do networking and to maintain those relationships, because if you don't take care of your relationships, then you are forgetting that business is always done between people. I mean,
That's true. That's true. Amazing.
yeah. So I mean, I think what we are actually coming to is the fact that mindset is always this
Mm,
really key component of international success, and that it's one thing to change your product for the markets and to adapt your product, but realistically speaking, you have to also adapt your mindset in order to work on a global basis. If we talk about building your company global from the start, you can only do that if the person at the top also has that global mindset, I think, and who is actually making sure that you have a culture who is enabling you to think globally, right?
Really true, super true. I think the topic of wise mindset such a key thing of international success. Um, I think it's like for me, mindset is like my suitcase. So if I only pack for sunny weather, I will be miserable in the rain. So a good international mindset is a flexible mindset. So a flexible suitcase, I would say, like ready for anything the global business would throws your way.
Mm-hmm.
And with the right mindset, you can see opportunities that will be a game changer for you. Um, for me, I would say like mindsets of like let's throw in some examples. I would say like mindset of openness,
Mm-hmm.
curiosity, resilience, and culture sensitivity would be essential for any international success. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that those are really key if you want to expand internationally, at least if you want to expand successfully in a sustainably, like a long-term sustainable way.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, you can have, let's say, short-term success by being
Mm,
very aggressive
yeah.
and purely pushing product, but at the end of the day, if you don't take care of the relationships and you don't have the right mindset, it's
Mm,
not going to be something that you can build on for the future, is it? It's
it- yeah, that's yeah, exactly.
so I know that you do a lot of mentoring for companies. How do you suggest that they start to really develop this
Mm,
kind of mindset? If it's something that doesn't come naturally to them, because I think for a lot of people, it's not something that they've thought about before
mm.
actively. And so it's quite hard for them to actually really picture what it is that they need and what they need to do for that.
A really good question. It's actually quite hard to explain. You have to have experiences on that. You have to live with new set of mindset, right? So, like I said, I do think that mindset of openness, curiosity, resilience, and cultural sensitivity will be essential for international success. So I would say, so in my own experiences,
Hmm.
I have found that having a supportive growth mindset towards my goals has been real help in both my personal and professional life. So it gives me clarity and certainty, um, and helps me to, yeah, I would say guide me towards fulfillment even in uncertain times. So actually, this is why I found a Mindful Biz a growth mentoring platform to help myself and my clients. So I would say if you want to start, to retrain or to cultivate new mindset, the best way is to learn and grow, to throw in yourself, to different cases, to different projects, to different worlds or culture uh, differences, so that you have, the real space, to understand like what I'm thinking all day, what is my mindset actually toward these topics. Like, do I have a like fixed mindset or growth mindset? I'm thinking that is possible for me, or I'm thinking like, I'm not sure yet. Why me? I think this real cases will give you like super um real experiences, like where are you now and where can you go next.
Yeah. And I think it can be for anybody who's working in several different regions of the world, it can be a real challenge to actually have that kind of flexibility. I know that
Mm,
when I started working in China very intensively. I also
Yeah.
had, I mean, I'd been working in Taiwan, I'd been working in Vietnam also, but at the time I was head of sales in the company, so we had some intensive discussions that were going on in the Balkans. So I would be going from
Yeah.
like Serbia, which is a very
Yeah.
kind of how should I say, it's a very direct culture
Yeah.
when you
That's true.
where you can have very direct discussions, you can bang on the table, you can shout at people. And then the next week I would be sitting in China, and if somebody said
Yeah.
something that I didn't like, I would just be sitting, let me think about that.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. I think that's
So
it's yeah. I mean, like life is cool, right? It's like if you have a real experience, like you just told, you will be realizing like how different we are, or how similar we are. We are kind of really similar, but also different. So I think
yeah,
if you throw yourself, into the world and have these real cases, then you will be actually really understand like actually there are many ways to communicate. And if I want to achieve this kind of goal, my way, maybe it's not the only way to do certain things. I think that is the mindset changing we were just talking
yeah,
about. Really
yeah.
amazing.
It's really important to have that kind of openness, isn't it?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. All right.
And Kate wanted to ask us, what
Mm-hmm.
role would you say that code switching plays in demonstrating cultural sensitivity? I think that's also a little bit, as we've been discussing just now, that it's it's quite complex, isn't it?
This is super complex, to be honest, because if you haven't been able to live in a new culture, it's quite different and quite complex, to understand or to try imagine, like why people doing certain things or not. So I think code switching, um, it's actually, like imagine you play a role, you like role games, right? Like you playing a business person in another culture. So as soon as you take over this role and have a little bit of background, learnings, you will be acting differently automatically. So I think that code switching, or actually, like playing a different role, um, do or can helps you to understand this culture different or culture sensitivity. But it's a, a big topic, to be honest. What would you say, Catherine?
Yeah, I think it's also something that if you understand yourself very well, like if you
Hmm.
know yourself very well, then I think it's easier to identify ways that other people act differently from you, and that
Yeah.
you recognize that, okay, this is the way that I naturally am, that is the way that that person is. And if you can, maybe you can consider whether you want to make that switch or not, because
Hmm.
maybe it's something that you don't want to actually mirror in some way, but you might consider, how far can I move towards that person in order to be able to have, um, let's say, a productive discussion with them on a business basis.
Yeah. Really good.
It's
Really good.
it's
Yeah.
it's a complicated topic, but I mean,
Yeah.
you must have been faced with that. How did you manage when you first came to Austria? That must have been such a shock.
uh, uh, okay. So when I first came to Austria, so I barely speak German. I mean, now it's my like native language. Um, so it was really hard for me to blend into a new culture. I barely speak the language. So when I was 14, when I came to Austria, and I barely understood, the culture sensitivity, or even like I didn't know when I should laughing. Like someone says, told you a joke. So you
Mhm.
should be at some point laughing as an answer, right? Laughing at it, but I didn't know when. So it was like hilarious situation. So everybody was like laughing at the jokes. I was like, I am not sure. It's like this the right timing to blend in. So there was horrible in a way, but
Yeah.
also like quite funny. I mean, yes,
Afterwards, it's funny, but at the time, I'm sure
afterwards
it's
it was
not so
funny.
funny.
No, no, no. So I was so embarrassed. I was so, like in stress, to be honest. So this is why I chose, to stick with my own identity in the beginning. So I resisted to the change. This is how I did. So I resist to the change because I want to hold on my own identity. So after a while, so when I realized that this is, holding on something, it's not the real solution. I was trying to switch, like I was saying, like totally change, totally adapting to a new situation. So I trying to learn everything I could find, trying to be a different person. It was not a solution as well because
Yeah.
I have lost my own identity and couldn't form the new one yet. So I was in something in between. And
Yeah.
when I finally found my own, adjust or my new identity, I was doing the step three. So, like, know who I am, you know, keep my own boundary, but adjust with everything new that I wanted to have in my new system. So I found myself anew, but with something that is matches both world. So this is how I did it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine, especially, let's say at that 14 is a difficult age, right? So
It's too early, too
it's
early.
difficult even if you're in your own culture and your own
Yeah.
homed place. So I imagine that was a really tough situation to be changed, to be making that kind of chameleon change at the time.
Yeah, that was really really hard, but it's also there was the beginning of my own personal growth journey, and I started, to learn, everything about positive psychology, philosophy, because I want to understand, okay, like who am I now? Like if I'm not this one, and
Yeah.
that yet, like what is this? What I'm doing here. So I started really early to learn coaching, mentoring, and was actually the real beginning of my mentoring platform. So yeah, nothing ever get wasted.
No, for sure. That's very true. And I mean, I was watching your TED Talk the other day
Yeah.
as well,
Oh,
and I'm you're talking there also about having compassion and kindness both for yourself and both for
yeah.
others, which I imagine in such a situation for yourself, that's something that's a lesson you had to learn
Yeah.
personally, to be
That's
kind to
true.
yourself. How do you, let's say, how do you mentor your clients
Mm.
so that they can apply this in their international settings? Because I think that this means different things to in different cultures. The way of showing it is is something which is very different, isn't it? The way that people show compassion from one country to another is different, even if the base is the same.
You're so right. So I was giving a interview yesterday. So we were talking about this cultural differences and how to understand things in a same and different way. So like we're all pursuing the same things, like to be loved and to love. Like I would say the human essential. Like this is why we're here. But in another way, every culture has own, I would say, um goals, right? It's like every family has a different goals. So this is like similar and different are something that we all are facing on. Um, I like you said, having this compassion and mentor to others, it's with all these international clients, like for example, I mentor into internationals and I mentor CEOs, I mentor artists in China, in Europe, and in Asia actually. So they are so different in a way. They want
Yep.
different, they want to reach as achieve different things. One client was saying like, I want to be more successful, then I was asking like, okay, what is success for you? Okay. So
Hmm.
like, yeah, I want to have enough incomes to feed my family. The other clients were saying like, I want to be free, in my daily times, that I only work like 2 hours a day, and the rest of days I can do whatever I want. The other one will be saying like, I want to buy my parents a house. So being successful or having different goals in all these different cultures and status also helped me to realize like why we're here, like what is the fulfillment in life. So this mentor others, or be kind to myself and others, helped me to understand better what I'm doing and how I can help others. So this process, this working with others or mentor others to be successful in business or to have like personal fulfillment, it's like something that I breathe in. It's easy,
Hmm.
it's authentic, it's natural, and it's important.
Yeah.
So this is a process that we, once we want, to start this journey together, it's all makes sense. It's hard to describe, but it's like a wonderful journey. Mm,
Yeah, and I think it's something that every time that you
mm,
every time that you work with a client on this
mm.
kind of a topic, then you're reaffirming also to yourself this message that
Exactly.
that you have to also live the talk, and not you have to also walk the talk and not just
Exactly.
tell other people. So yeah,
Exactly. So
for
this
sure.
is why, sorry if I allow to, to explain a little bit more about why I'm doing this. I do think that, having this agency, having this company to help have international growth is amazing. So I can do something with my culture, I can do something with my expertise, I can do
Mhm.
something bigger with other experts together. I love that. But in another way, I've observed so many, I would say, unhappy rich people, if I can, you know,
Yep. Yep.
picture that for you. So I was like, okay, what, if everybody is pursuing this kind of material success or happiness, but in other way that, or many or lots of rich people, successful people are not so happy, what's wrong with all this growth? So this is why I love my second business, this mentoring platform, to make sure that this person is happy too. We will
Yep.
make your business, create your business successful, and yourself. I think that is something that really healthy and sustainable and
Yep.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's very important that if you are not happy yourself
Hmm.
with what you're creating, then at some point you're going to walk away from it,
Yeah.
because it's not who you are. And if you're somebody who cares about being, I mean, that word authentic is so overused, I think, these days, but if you're somebody who really cares about being a very genuine kind of person, if you
Hmm.
find that you've created something which is essentially got away from you and is no longer
Hmm.
who you are, then chances are at some point you need to walk away from that or find a way to bring it back to the path to make it in alignment with what you believe and what really your values are, don't you? I mean,
Absolutely. I've seen that a lot, to be honest. So like purpose-driven business, where, once they make the money, they right away quit or sell the company and start something for themselves. So, this is all, this circle. So yeah, that's true.
yeah, it's very interesting, and I think it's also interesting what Kate mentioned, because Kate
Yeah.
is, let's say, Kate is doing a lot of work around neurodivergence at the moment,
Wow.
and
Mhm.
but she's also done a lot of global work. So looking at that with cultural sensitivity at some point would be a topic that, Kate, maybe we should talk about. Maybe we can have a discussion at some point when we're a little bit further down the line on that one, because I think that would be also an interesting topic to look into a little bit more.
Absolutely. Sounds really interesting. Mm.
Yeah. So, Jiaran, knowing what you do now,
Mm.
what advice would you give to your, let's say, 18-year-old self if you were just starting out on your international journey? What would you tell her to do maybe differently, or to double down on, perhaps, or just keep
Yeah.
doing it? You've got this, girl.
Oh, this is a really, really good question. Yeah, okay. So if I could talk to my younger self, I would say start a business while you're still in school.
Okay.
Yeah, so don't wait until you finish because I start mine after my first or second master. I'm not sure yet. So like years later. Um, but actually, I would really, like encourage my younger self to start while I will be still be in school. So in that ways, I can, try out different things.
Hmm.
Because I would also tell myself like because it's okay to make mistakes. Yeah,
Yeah.
they will help you learn and grow. So it was a huge topic for me actually. I want to make sure, I will be ready. I have learned everything. But that's it's a tricky
But this
question.
is a very typical female approach, isn't it? We want to have the next certification, and we want to have
Exactly.
these. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like I would say like it's okay to make mistakes and they will help you to learn and grow. So instead, to waiting around, please just do it, just take action and learn by trying different things. And if I had started sooner, maybe I would have achieved success earlier, so which I can help others, even earlier, and myself, my own company as well. So yeah, that would be something that would tell my younger self, to be honest. Yeah.
It's it's interesting though, because at some point I'd like to dive into this kind of
Mhm.
aspect of being a musician. That if you're a
Mm.
musician, you're used to the idea of somebody saying to you, a conductor or maybe a professor, you're used to the idea that somebody says to you, I don't want it like that. It might be correct, but
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
want it like that. I want it differently. And
Exactly.
to some extent, as a musician, you accept that. You accept that conductor has the right at this time to call the tunes, as it were, literally.
They
And
know
you
better.
accept that you
Yeah.
accept that kind of implied criticism, or that you
Yeah.
need to do something differently, or please try it like this and try it 10 times more before I'm satisfied with it. And I know there's a certain amount of, the musical world is not quite as idealistic as all that, but it's it's interesting that we get into the, let's say, the business world, and people are
Mhm.
so obsessed with not making mistakes, whereas as a musician you're
Mhm.
used to the idea that you play a wrong note, okay, 90% of the audience are not going to notice I played one wrong note.
It's so true. Actually, when I started piano, I was 4. So actually, I started really young. But when I started, to have my own companies, I was 20 something age, not sure yet. So, but when I was helping my dad, I was 14, 16, something around that. So but the problem was more like as a musician, like you said, you are used to have criticism, right? Like
Yeah.
you will need, you won't be perfect. You are not perfect. You won't be perfect. So there's always something you have to adjust on. There's always something you have to play or learn more. So you kind of live in this imperfect world. So when I start business or when people start doing business, they always want to find this perfect timing, right? So perfect product, perfect timing. When I got this sign, I will be starting my own thing. So one will be the perfect timing for I don't know. So I just think that it's quite a traditional views of seeing life, and we all
Hmm.
living in these bubbles. As artists, you think like this. As a business person, you think like that. I just think that matching those bubbles would have helped me at least, to to see different ways. I would
Yeah.
wish that we all, have exchange lot more often, and more like cross-boarding between all different businesses, and to observe if this kind of mindset or if this kind of thoughts really helped me, or is something that I just got used to think of. So yeah, it's a strong topic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really strong topic, and like Momwara says, there's so many people are really just obsessed about not making mistakes. And
Mm,
at the end of the day, if people see that, let's say, if people see that it's not a deliberate mistake, then I think in most cases, when it comes to intercultural topics, most people are prepared to forgive you some small. If it's in business, they're prepared to forgive you some small mistakes if they see that you meant to do the best you could, and something went
mm.
wrong. Okay, I think people are not quite so strict on that. It's
Yeah, I do think that is also important, to have a safe space around you, that, making mistakes would hurt that much. Like you have like supportive friends or family members or team colleagues.
mm-hmm,
They would say like, "Oh yeah, I saw that. It's okay. So it's not really that, dramatic, and you can do this on this time, or you can do this as a, I'm sorry, making good offer." So like supportive things, to help you to overcome this
mm-hmm,
this situation. But I do think that is also important to have this environment, to teaching your own kids that making mistakes is okay, because in certain I would say culture, making mistakes are something that you will lose your face, your dignity, you will be hated forever, at least in the communications, this is way stronger words than just have this safe space, allowing small mistakes, and
mm-hmm.
quickly make up to others. So like, yeah, so it's a strong topic.
Yeah, and I think it's not just in Asia. I think there's a lot of it. I see a lot of it in the UK as well, especially
Mm,
amongst young people, that they are very
yeah,
frightened to make mistakes and to be laughed at in school,
yeah,
and this
I
kind
understand
of,
that.
yeah. But we're coming to the end.
Mhm.
So, firstly, I would like to say a huge thank you that you've taken the time for this discussion today. And also thank you to Kate and to Monwara and to everybody else who is listening,
Yeah.
because it's great to have that active participation from the comments. Jiaran, who should reach out to you?
Mm.
Um, who should think about working together with you?
Yeah, that's just a good question. I mean, I would like to also say thank you to this amazing audience. Like we all love this active audience, sitting questions and discuss with us. So super happy to have you guys. And I mean, thank you for staying that long. So, so okay. So, who be my clients? I would say we offer a toolkit for success overseas under one roof. That means we are your one-stop shop for
Hmm.
global growth. So no matter if you are a startup or established brand or something somewhere in between, we can help you with finding new markets, go-to-market consulting.
Hmm.
We can optimize your international operations, cross-culture training, and on top of that, we offer like digital growth packages. So we do like performance marketing, social media, sports marketing, e-commerce,
Hmm.
and we can help you, for example, to launch a company in Austria to expand to EU or to Asia. And in the moment, we're building up a super special investor startup matching club between Asia and Europe. So looking forward to have you guys on board.
Cool. Yeah, and we thank everybody. Thank you once again. And until next time.
Thank you so much. See you soon then. Thank you, Catherine.